agenda. We just got an email in of a caption that we're going to include here in a minute. I think we may get copies. We're going to get copies. Fantastic. Fantastic. Okay. All right. We will take a look at the consent agenda, which includes the May 14th minutes from the agenda work session, as well as the minutes from the regular council meeting of that same date, and then also approval of the April 2015 financial statement. Do we have a motion?
I have a motion for discussion of the financial statement.
Okay.
Line item 34, 220C, 220, Riverside Power contract. How many more payments have we got coming in this year? 2 or 3? This is through April 30th, so I think May and June. May I figure, but we've still got 3 payments coming in.
Sorry, which line item?
34, 221.
We began invoicing Ridgeside this year for the first time. Our auditor didn't say anything, but their auditor ended up saying something to them, and we thought that was the best thing to do. So it appears here, I have to put it down for you in just a moment.
Yeah, that's the way I got it figured, but we don't get paid in June, so.
Well, we do receive, as we discussed, we do receive revenues in July. We have what's called a period of eligibility provided under state law, and that's because if we did it in June, we provided a service, but don't receive payment until July. That way we can link payments with services. So 60 days on one thing, but on most everything else, it's 30 days, which takes us into the month of July.
Still on 3 payments for this year.
May, June.
Line item 36, 310, sell land. Says fiscal year 15 year-to-date actual $60,890. On March of 2015, fiscal year 15 year-to-date actual was $574,000. So have we designated that money somewhere else out of revenue, somewhere else?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That was designated. The council voted to move those
Well,
funds.
brought up that I didn't think we were voting on it. Because I think Mr. Gresham wanted to put half of it here and half of it there, because we were voting on it.
We would have to check the minutes in my recollection.
We'll have to, yeah.
I'd be glad to look into that, sir.
Okay,
Make
why
sure
is
that we
this,
make sure that we get back to you with a response.
Okay.
I do know, I guess Mr. Captain, he did bring it up a little bit high.
Yeah, he did, but we never voted on it.
Well, let's, for the time being, if you've got more questions, that's fine. I just want to say, for the time being,
I just said that from March to April. Okay.
let's pull the financial statement off of the consent agenda, and when we get some explanation on that, then we can come back to it, but
Yeah,
that's fine.
I know we got the money, but just don't show it right here, February, March, and April's financials.
Okay. So,
I'll make a
if we-
motion.
just the minutes, the meeting minutes. Okay. So we have a motion to approve the meeting minutes for May 14th of the agenda session and the regular council meeting. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Griffin.
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle.
Yes.
Councilmember Manning.
Yes.
Mayor Lambert.
Yes. Okay, and we'll come back to that financial statement as soon as we have a definitive word on that. All right, we have list? Nope, no one signed, okay. Well, I'll do what we've come to do here over the last few meetings. If anyone didn't get a chance or didn't hear to sign in, if you would like to, and you'd still like to address the council, please feel free to come forward at this time. State your name and address for the record. You'll have 5 minutes. Yes, ma'am.
Francis Pope, 1913 Close Road. One of my questions is about the sign-up sheet. You and I spoke sometime back. Of course, I objected to it. I don't think you should have a citizen would have to come and sign what they were going to speak about. And you did say you were going to tweak it where if someone didn't sign up, and I asked you if it conflicted with our charter change, and you were going to get with the city attorney. Because we had a charter change that guarantees citizens the right to speak at all regular and special meetings. So whether they signed up or not, they could not be denied to speak. Am I correct? Did you get that did you speak to them?
No, ma'am, I did not. I did not get a chance to speak to him about that. However, I don't, just my personal opinion, I don't see how having people sign their name and address to that paper is denying someone the opportunity to speak at this meeting. Certainly anyone can do that. Anyone can sign in, and as I just did a minute ago, no one signed in. I always give everyone an opportunity, if you didn't get a chance to sign in, to come forward and speak. So I think it's a moot point, but that's just
Because
my opinion.
that explanation, when you and I talked, it was right after the sign-up sheet was announced that it was going to be done. And you said, well, maybe we could tweak it and allow those that didn't sign up. And that you would start asking, that you would ask if they didn't sign up, if they wanted to speak. And that's when I asked you, could they ever be denied not to speak if they didn't sign up? I was just trying to get some clarity on that. I'm not saying that anybody was denied.
Well, I think if you come in halfway through the meeting and you've missed citizen communication, we're not going to stop the meeting so that someone can speak. I don't think that violates the charter. I don't think.
No, because the charter says at the designated time, so it has to be in this
Right.
section of time.
And so, we've provided the opportunity for folks to sign in. If they don't sign in, I just asked if anyone didn't sign in would like to speak. I think we've covered all the bases, I think,
Okay.
unless I'm missing something.
Prohibited from speaking based upon whether or not they signed
That's fine, because when this was first put out, that explanation was not put out. I have another question too,
Yes, ma'am.
and it has to do with the recent information that's gone out about the property at Exit 1. I'm a little confused, and maybe I can get some clarity on it. We had 6 acres that we purchased in 1999.
5.92, is that right?
Right, more or less. We have already signed over, 4.7 in 2012. The whole 5.92 more or less had the restriction on it. How were we able to sign a portion of that over in 2012 with a restriction on it? Because even on the limited warranty deed issued, it says subject to restriction quick deed from the state of Tennessee, book and page, and then the quick deed addresses the property shall cease to be a fire hall. The state has the right to re-enter and retake the premises. How did that go through without a hitch? And now, at the 11th hour, we're faced with this problem.
That is, frankly, that's a legal question that I don't have an answer for. I just don't.
And was the IDB given this information when did they have any knowledge of there being a restriction on that property when they were negotiating? Because you tell me
I don't.
there's a restriction I'm assuming, so
I can't
it's on the warranty deed.
I can't speak for the IDB, but based upon the fact that, none of the rest of us were really remembering or, I don't see how they did. I don't
So
see
it
how
didn't
they
come up
did.
it didn't come up in any discussion in 2012 when the property was actually sold.
I cannot say one way or another. You're asking me to recall every single meeting that we had, every statement that was made, and I cannot do that. I'm sorry.
Well,
Just can't.
it certainly didn't come up in a public meeting, that there was a restriction on that. And that's why when I pulled that warranty deed, which is public record, I couldn't understand how that was sold without a hitch, and now, as I say, at the 11th hour, we have the property. Thank you.
Thank you. We have another. Yes, sir. Sir, we'll recognize you next.
Matthew Hopper, 706 Pyron Lane.
Yes, sir.
I'm just going up here for part of the same reason she is, and that is about the fire hall property and the lack of transparency regarding the issue. I feel like when it came up in July, it should have been brought before the council. It should have been disclosed to the taxpayers that there's a problem with the property. There's been a lot of discussions, a lot of votes, a lot of meetings between July 16th, when TDOT contacted you, and May 14th, when Mr. Cagle asked the question about what was going on with the title. Maybe some of those discussions would have been different if we knew that there was a problem with the property. Maybe some of those votes would have been slightly altered if we would have known there was a problem with the property. We, as taxpayers, have a right to transparency and accountability in our government. And I don't think what now is a $603,000 bill is an administrative issue. If it was an administrative issue, then Mr. Hyatt would have been able to handle it completely on his own without any advice from any of the council, correct? He is the head administrator for the city. And I believe if he would have received notification from the Excess Land Committee that there was a problem with that deed and wrote a $603,000 check, every council member would have a problem with it. And if they had a problem with it, then it's not an administrative issue. So I think that there needs to be more transparency on these issues. There needs to be more of an effort made to make the people aware. Now, I will say, almost anything I have asked for or ever requested a copy of, the city staff is great about responding right away, contacting right away. I've inspected the TDOT records regarding the situation. And I do want to thank Mr. Hyatt and Mr. Jablonski, because everything that was sent to them directly from the state to remove the restrictions, they responded to extremely swiftly. I believe they had the $3,000 payment for the appraisal fee back to the state in less than 24 hours after we were contacted. I mean, it was quick. You can see it on the paperwork because they stamp when it's received. So they did a great job at responding, but I feel that there was a huge lack of communication to the taxpayers, because ultimately this is our money. And even if we get reimbursed from the state's money is our money. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Either way, it's the taxpayers' money. And we had a right to know about it. We had a right to be informed about it, and every member of the council had a right to know about it. When Mr. Cagle asked about it on the 14th, the response he was given by you, Mr. Mayor, did not involve any dollar figures until he, on a direct rebuttal to that, asked if it was going to cost money. I mean, I understand you didn't know exactly at the time how much it would cost.
Exactly.
But you could have divulged that it was going to cost something, and you didn't. I've watched the YouTube video multiple times, and you said, we're working it through it, it's almost resolved, it's close. You never said, we're going to have to pay 71% of whatever it costs, or whatever it appraises for. You could have said that without divulging the actual dollar figure.
I'm pretty sure I did say that, because the headline in the Chattanooga the next day was $428,000.
Sure, after he responded specifically, well, what's this going to cost us? Is this going to cost us any more money beyond the $50,000 we've already paid? I mean, you can watch the YouTube video. I've seen it.
And that's,
Mr. Cagle asks you it directly, and it's only then that you reveal that there was a cost to the taxpayers or to the state. if we submit it for reimbursal. I'm not the only one. The entire city demands that its elected officials are accountable and transparent. And on this issue, there was a severe lack in judgment because it should have been disclosed. That's all.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else? Yes, sir, back there. If you'll just state your name and address for the record.
My name is John Brett III, 5305 Marion Avenue, East Ridge.
Yes, sir.
This is a little off topic compared to what y'all have been talking about. I have two concerns or two questions for the council. One is, I've been a resident here since like 2009, 2007, and I was wondering if y'all looked into bus service, making bus service available to East Ridge. My mom's now staying with me, and she's elderly, doesn't drive, and bus service would be helpful. And I noticed East Ridge has a large elderly population here, a good percentage, not large. And the second thing, it's a concern, it's more of a future concern because of what I do in real estate, is that have we looked into the services that would be needed once the city of Chattanooga just tears down one of the projects on the west side or the East Lake projects, because the people in those projects, which is a large amount of people, will have to migrate to other areas of Hamilton County. So my concern is, do we have a plan or resources in place to, in the future, because it's not in the near term, but in the future, to handle that migration? And I believe we are susceptible to a large migration because of the apartments we have here, older apartments. So that's just the two things I want to put forth towards the council.
Thank you, sir. On the
I'm sorry, I didn't get his last name.
Britt, B-R-I-T-T, the third.
All right. As to the second question, Thad's got an answer for the first question. Or some information at least.
The city has discussed bus service, didn't it, Mr. Hyde?
Well, okay, let's just start there. Let's start with question one. Go ahead.
Thanks for volunteering. Yes, we've been in discussions with Carter about some opportunities in East Ridge, and they are making some plans to come real soon. They're getting some grants and that type of thing, no cost to the city at this point, so it's something that they have discussed with me very recently. Not in great detail, just like an idea.
Okay. That's good.
One of the reasons, if I can chime in, one of the
Please.
reasons why the city of East Ridge stopped bus service out here is because CARTA wanted to charge an astronomical franchise fee to provide bus service to the city of East Ridge. Don't quote me on this, don't hold me to it, but I think it was in the tune of $400,000. Now, again, I might be off base with that figure, okay, because for some reason that sticks in my
I think
head.
it's pretty close to that. I think the former mayor Steele had
That's pretty
had some
good.
conversations and talked to Carter. I think it was 400 to 500, something like that. But certainly it's something that's on the radar, most definitely. Right. As for the second question, I'm very glad you raised that point about just preparing for potential migration of populations, and I think I haven't heard any discussion really or planning on how that could affect the city of East Ridge, but you mentioning it is good enough to at least get it on our radar screen. I think it's something that we certainly ought to look at. And so thank you very much for bringing that forward.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have anyone else? Okay, we'll move on to communication from council members. Mr. Manning, I started with Mr. Cagle earlier at the end of the agenda work session, so I'm getting better. I'm trying to distribute a little better, so I'm always going to you.
We're struggling to get, because he looks like his head about this, brother.
Got something you want to say?
Yes, sir, I'd just like to get an update on the phase trip, the recon trip, on what Mr. Jablonski learn out there that'd be interest to the city and to the taxpayers?
Sure.
Thank you, Councilman Cagle. I went out to Las Vegas on Sunday night so that I could be there Monday morning. We changed plans a little bit so that, as I was the only one traveling, I was there for 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and spent most of the first 2 days overwhelmed by the fact the gentlemen here from Exit 1 were there. It wasn't their first time, but they could speak to the sense of scale. By far the largest event of its type. I've been to a lot of conferences and I've never been to anything that large. I made contact with all of the national retailers and their representatives from each region for existing businesses, and Retail Strategies had put together a packet for us which contained thank you letters from the city and from the mayor, and then the marketing material that they are using to pass out and say thanks on the one hand, but on the other hand, to let people know, invest in East Ridge. Don't pull out, or if you have a franchise holder talking about pulling out. In one case, I wouldn't want to say it in public, but in one case, someone suggested that there had been talk about somebody considering selling the franchise. Here's the level of it. Here's what other businesses are investing in East Ridge, and I pointed out Life Care. I talked about the hotels. I talked about several of our fast food restaurants that had made major investments over the last year, Speedway and so on. So it was a good opportunity to make that contact and advise, kind of advise our give thanks on the one hand, and provide some context for what the city had done over the last year to invest as well in economic development here in East Ridge. In addition to what we've done here, which include grants to try to upgrade infrastructure in East Ridge, investment in infrastructure that the city owns, grants to invest in the city itself for street improvement projects and the like, but also to the recent contract with Retail Strategies that we can work towards bringing in more retail. And so in addition to that, having the opportunity to tell that story over and over and over again, I got pretty good at telling it. By the end of the conference, I told it a little bit differently than I did obviously at the beginning. The last day was really interesting because I had pretty much touched base with everyone. I've got a really good Rolodex now for national retailers, which is a start. Anytime you're doing recruitment. I had several chance encounters, which I found that to probably be the might sound strange, but the most value added to my going were those chance encounters where I wasn't working, going booth to booth per se, but I stood back for a minute and had a conversation with somebody, and I had several different conversations where individuals asked me, where was I from, and once we got to talking, in one case there was a gentleman from Memphis, and we made a connection. I lived in Shelby County before I moved to East Ridge in Lakeland, Tennessee, and he was doing some residential, mixed use and residential development in and near Lakeland. And he asked if East Ridge was interested in residential development, even though that wasn't the purpose of the trip. He asked me for my card, and that happened a couple of times. There were a couple of other stories like that. So it was educational for me. I learned a lot. It would not be the same to go there a second time, I can tell you that, knowing what to expect, knowing what I might do a little bit different. But it was a great experience for me, and I think a value added to the city. Thank you, sir.
Just to kind of follow up on what Mr. Cagle asked, specifically about Retail Strategies, is there a way the council can have access to multiple copies of the marketing materials that they provide, so that when we make contact, right?
Spending history, selling history of our businesses.
Right, because as we make contact with people who may be interested in coming to East Ridge, it'd be awfully nice to have that. We could just hand to them theoretically, and give them the information, or a lot of the information that they would be very interested in seeing.
I can certainly take care of that.
It's wonderful.
If I could just add, just along the lines of economic development, I had a meeting today, at lunch with, Mr. Forrest Preston, who is the owner of the Life Care Centers. And he was talking to me about Life Care and what they're doing. They're gonna start their process probably next week with the tear down that building, moving forward there. There's some other people there, and they've also asked me to keep it close to the vest. There's some things that they're looking at us about that are unique to what's going on now. I mean, it's nothing like the Bass Pro, the Jordan Pro development's a little different, but it's something very interesting that I found was something that could benefit the city greatly. So as I get closer, obviously I can give you more information. I just
Since you brought up Life Care, do you know if they're gonna use it on, or are they gonna have any property for sale time they get through, or?
I do not think they will have any property for sale. They showed me a footprint today that showed the one building that's going pretty close to where they are now. And then as it sits, there's gonna be one, and I don't remember the name of the road, but the road that goes by Matco,
McDonald, I think.
McDonald.
Yeah.
There'll be another building sitting close to that, and then in the parking lot that is toward the interstate side, there'll be something else sitting there. So there will be 3 buildings that they put on that property, and they should get underway, Monday or Tuesday, Wednesday, sometime next week, hopefully. Obviously, weather plays a big part of it.
Excellent. Well, thank you for the update. Very good news. Very good news. Mr. Gravett?
Yeah, with Mr. Manning's announcement a little while ago that he was running against me from the State House of Representatives, I'd just like to say good luck to you, Mr. Manning, and it should be a very spirited race there. And just out of curiosity, you running as a Republican or Democrat?
I am going to vote this time.
Okay. All right. Anyway, I think that's about all that I've got to say, and that's it.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Manning?
And I wasn't being smart, so don't think that. I had a phone call today, and the city manager answered the question a while ago about nursing home down here, Life Care Center. And the guy called, I don't know why, they had it fenced up. And I told him to call you, so I don't know whether they called you or not.
I haven't heard it
Well,
from
I told him, I
anybody
said,
answering that question.
you got to call the city manager, ask him that. That's because he's the one who goes and checks this stuff. And I said, hey, will you tell me something? I said, I can't tell you nothing, go ask the city manager.
I can answer that question for you, because I was with the operations manager last weekend, and he said that they fenced it up because they're getting ready to move out all the equipment, and they're going to level those buildings. So they don't say anyone is safe, it's safe.
Well, I figured that, about what it was, but I was going to ask that guy's question over the phone, I didn't know who he was, and I was going to ask give him information, or it could be somebody else, something they might want to borrow, nobody there, so I figured I don't know.
And this site's gonna look a lot like the Uwa site, except there'll be 3 buildings versus 2 buildings.
This is a beautiful, beautiful development up there across from the public, so still very impressive.
Just one more thing I've got to say, or 2. One, I like the looks of the building in the Bass Pro Shop. Bathroom, pretty bad, they fixed
The
picture here.
our pavilion there at
The
the,
pavilion there. And I ain't gonna say what I said out in the hallway.
it looks good. That's gonna be a very nice addition down there, and I think it's it provides a lot of opportunity to have different kinds of events in there. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Okay, fine, I got no problem with it. But one thing I was gonna ask, which I guess I probably will be voting on the bottom, didn't mean to. But on the road, are y'all gonna repave the road, or what are you gonna do on it down there when you get through? Where construction site's at, down through the main road. Captain Jordan?
You're talking about what the issues are?
Yes, sir.
From the equipment?
Yes, sir.
We'll repair all of
Somebody asked me about that, and I said, "Look, down there every day, you need to stop and ask them, no, I ain't going in there to get my feet muddy, so. That's the only thing that saves you, a lot of them want to come in, but if it rains, y'all are safe, they couldn't get to you. That's all I have, sir.
All right. I think Mary left, but obviously we want to just thank her for her dedicated service here to the city, and she stepped in when we really had a need and did a fine job. And so we're grateful for her. And we've got, it's an exciting time, lots of wonderful things happening. You go down and I drive by the La Quinta down there, what will be the La Quinta, every day, and it's coming along very, very well. And we've got the grocery store that is nameless over here. We have it, good progress going on there, as we heard the update on the Life Care Center. Lots of good things happening, and so again, it's just an exciting time for East Ridge. A lot of people have put in a lot of effort to see some of these things happening. And I say this often, but I do it on purpose because all the people who have worked here through the years, who have been staff members, who have been council members, who have served in any way, have helped to ultimately get us here. And every council, every set of staff, every new staff member that comes in, we build on what the previous folks did. And so we should be very grateful for the dedicated service that so many have put in.
I do want to say one more thing, Captain Mayor, everybody up here. I know a lot of folks has made different statements that the council sitting up here now was involved in a situation about the tax thing. None of us, not one person, city manager, assistant city manager, the mayor, nobody, none of us was here when all that took place. And it all hit us all like a brick wall, so.
What
I'm trying to
tax
check the
stuff?
mayor. That's one about the Bass Pro Shop tax thing.
Well,
None of us here at that time, we all get accused of it, we were not here, but that's what everybody's mind is.
well, thank you very much. And I think the city manager has a little something that he would like to share with us that he got yesterday at the chamber meeting across the way here.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. To my surprise, as a little while ago, as Mr. Jablonski called on me to speak, I was called on again yesterday because we received the business of the month. And I think that speaks a lot to the employees and the staff and the county and for the way that we operate, the way we try to do things the right way. And I think that really speaks a lot. So I'm kind of proud of that. I hope you are too. We'll put this in a prominent place. Really, the only other thing I have, Mr. Jablonski has something to speak about our bond rate.
Please do.
Thank you for calling on me, Mr. Mayor. The Mayor and Council, we received a draft press release and it was finalized, it was this morning, and it was finalized at 3 o'clock, the $3.5 million bond issuance that we're taking to market next week. Given the amount of new money, it was rated, just like the city was rated 2 years ago, approximately. The city received a AA3 rating at that time by Moody's Investor Service, which is a great rating to have, especially for a smaller city, city of 20,000, smaller to medium-sized city. It was a long process. We provided a very robust presentation, which followed short conversations, since we provided such a large amount of information to the young lady from Moody's. Diane and I met with her via conference call yesterday, and they rated the transaction today. We maintained that AA3 rating, and they did point out several things. They looked at the fiscal year 15 budget as amended. We discussed what those investments went towards, those investments from the fund balance and reserves, the capital projects fund, and even some of our plans for fiscal year 16 that have been proposed, as well as other private investment in the city, and management got high marks, and council got high marks, and I just wanted to thank everybody up here for helping me pull that rating out. Obviously, say that I did that would be untrue, because I didn't have the council support. A lot of the things we've done have made that easy. Diane and our team, staff's work is certainly the reason that came out so well. Moving in the wrong direction.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. All right, did you have anything else? Okay. All right, so we will move on now to old business. And item A, actually, I did want to mention this as well. Two things before we actually get into the business items. One is we moved up from the agenda work session, what will be item G under new business, which is a discussion of the city manager's contract. And I also, that's the first thing. Second thing is I did receive a message from Larry saying that Saturday would be good. So if we want to plan to be here at 9 o'clock Saturday morning, we will, what we're talking about doing is recessing this meeting. We'll deal with a few items, but there are things like the fiscal year 16 budget, employee insurance, some things that we really feel like all 5 members of council need to be here to vote on. So we will, again, look at 2 or 3 items here and save the rest for Saturday at 9 o'clock, if, again, that works for everybody.
Casual dress, coming, be John.
Yes, yeah, no suit and tie required, okay? You can bring Krispy Kremes.
I'm going Krispy Kreme, I'm going steaks.
All right. Talk about that one. Right. Good point. All right, so we will look at old business now. Item A, ordinance number 988, here on second and final reading.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, to amend ordinance number 971 entitled, "An Ordinance to Provide Revenue for the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, fiscal year July 1st, 2014 to June 30th, 2015, appropriating the same to the payment of expenses of the municipal government, changing revenues of the general fund and capital improvement fund, and changing the expenditures for the general fund and capital improvement fund." Here on second and final reading.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. We've just discussed at the last meeting, during the first reading, the bond proceeds, and a few minutes ago, the bond proceeds are expected no later than the middle of June. So what the amendment does is budgets $1 million into the general fund, and then in the capital fund, where we had budgeted $1.2 million in bond proceeds to the fire hall construction and relocation project. We've reduced that down to $1 million, added another $1.3 million, which makes $1.5 million, and that would essentially provide for replenishing our capital reserve fund, recovering what we've spent throughout the year, and part of the component of how we structured the deal with One LLC to bring in Bass Pro Shop. So it's that vital component, and we're just finishing that up. So. Anybody have any questions?
If I understand correctly, there'll be 2.5 million, 3.5 already got.
Sorry, go ahead.
That's assuming that, that's assuming that there will be $2.5 million budget. I don't
sketching it to come out of the 3.5.
Yes, sir. That's correct. I would not anticipate that it would all be spent by the end of the fiscal year, especially for the fire hall.
I don't know what's up, taking trees down.
We'll do that right after the houses are removed. It's easier to take them down. We want to remove the, have to get the asbestos taken and stuff like that. Not yet, we're waiting, they're supposed to start that, hopefully next week, get the asbestos.
I told you 2 or 3 times, I'm not gonna be out in short.
We have any other comments or questions? We have a motion, ordinance 988.
Make a motion to approve 988.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 988. Any other comments? Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Griffin.
Yes.
Councilmember Hale.
Yes.
Councilmember Manning.
Yes.
Mayor Lambert.
Yes. Put the brakes on for just a second and backtrack to a particular letter that city manager wants us to look at and hear about. A letter from the Director of State Law Body.
Yes, in the letter, thank you, Mr. Hyde, Mayor, the letter, I think I had spoken with Linda Mooneyham from the bond fund, and I told her that we discussed it at the work session, we apparently said that was good enough, that we had discussed that with council, but the purpose of this is this letter from the Office of Local Finance, but more importantly, Form C2 0253. That form is a request to the comptroller's office to take on debt, because the comptroller approves any municipal debt, new money, and even a bond anticipation is considered new money, even though it's refinancing, because it wasn't originally a long-term bond. That's all they want us to do is advise that the debt is considered diluted indebtedness, because the amount of interest we pay over time does go up slightly between $70,000 and $80,000, and that's because it is a variable rate fund. The variable rate is only 85 basis points, which is a very, very good rate. It's part of the bond fund's variable rate loan program. If that rate were to change or were to start to increase and alarm us in any way, we would come back to the council, request a special meeting if necessary to talk about converting that to a long-term.
Any questions?
This is that 1.6 million that we, the band money.
It is.
Okay, I thought we converted it to a 30-year number, to 2035.
This is related to that conversion, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir, it's a refinancing of the bond anticipation.
I thought it was a fixed rate, but not on the variable rate.
No, it's a variable rate, sir.
But we can't convert that to a fixed, should the rate go up. I remember.
That's
that
one of the benefits.
conversation.
off early.
Yeah.
It's a 20-year term.
Yeah.
Not 30.
20 years, and one of the best components of the bond funds program is the fact that we can pull out of it probably in less than a month, but no more than 45 days. We can have new money, and it can be fixed, so it gives us the flexibility to save. A lot of cities have saved in the last 10 years using this program. It's been quite successful.
Thanks, sir. All right, as we mentioned earlier, item B, employee insurance. I feel like this is probably one of those issues we should come back on Saturday and revisit. Because again, it's a pretty significant item to try to deal with.
Will that give us time to put out for bids through West Saturday?
I imagine that could be done Monday if that is the direction the council goes. So it would be just 2-day time. Okay, so we will refer that and consider it on Saturday. Under new business, Ordinance 989.
An ordinance to provide revenue.
Sorry, just realized this, of course, is the budget ordinance, so this is also something that, sorry, Al, to interrupt. But this is also something that we had talked about moving, so. Item B, Resolution 24P.
Resolution of the City Council of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, naming East Ridge Library as Susan Millsap's Cronus,
Yes.
Can we also move that to Saturday?
We could, and if council wants to, if we have a desire to
I'd
do that.
like to make a comment